Good morning, guys. I don't know if you're getting tired of me yet. I did say we're going to do one every day the week of Easter. So if you're going, oh my Lord, this guy again, I apologize. We're almost done. This is Good Friday. Then there's Saturday, and then Sunday. We will be having an early sunrise service video on Sunday morning of Easter. Sorry, I'm trying to move something here and it didn't work. Um, there. So we'll be doing that Sunday morning. As I've said several times here, I'm sure you guys will be all making yourself as beautiful as possible, and I'm sure it's going to be very beautiful as you're getting ready for your Easter services to go to. If you don't have a place to go, send me a message. I'll tell you where I'm going. We can all hang out together. It'd be great. Otherwise, whenever you get a minute, check out the video. It doesn't have to be the day of Easter because, well, the message is applicable all year round. So anyway, I'll be doing that then. And just basically more of a Easter message type thing. So anyway, so today is Good Friday, and I have difficulty calling today Good Friday because although it's good for me that Jesus died, I don't deserve it. I say I'm a wicked man, and that is the truth. I am a wicked man. I still struggle every day. Although I don't have to walk in that life, I don't have to stay the wicked man. I will then only be living as a wicked man who has had his sins paid for and has made that choice to walk on from the bondage of the sinful life. I think there's some valid point there. We are wicked, and good for us to be cognizant of that. But we don't have to live this defeated, I'm a terrible person, look what I've done forever. It's just, we're not supposed to bog down in that. We're not supposed to sit around and just think about, how I've been a bad person, how I've done things terrible. I've just done terrible. God doesn't want us to do that. He wants to say, hey, dude, I forgive it, man. Just let it go. Let's get on with moving together and being what I had planned for you to begin with. He had a plan for Adam and Eve. Had they not failed, it would have been different. He's saying, look, it's gone now. That sin that you were born into because of Adam and Eve, the sins you've committed and you're going to commit again, it's all sort of washed away here. It's done. Let's just move forward together. And that's an amazing thing. But I do want to talk about really quick, because I have covered this before, and I really want to hit it again, because so many people say, there's not evidence. There's not evidence. And I have been, majority of the videos here have been focusing on giving you more and more evidence. This is not more evidence. I want to reiterate some evidence. Because I have seen, as I say, I watch these college students all the time. I've seen college students say, I don't believe there's not enough evidence. And then they're given this and this and this and this and this. And say, well, what do you think now? Well, there's not enough evidence. I just gave you the evidence. What evidence do you want? Well, I need something outside the Bible. Okay, and they give this and this and this and this and this. Go, what about that? Well, I don't believe. They're still just choosing not to. So that's kind of like I said about Judas. Judas saw it. Judas knew that this guy had performed miracles. Judas would have also known the expectation and the prophecy of the Messiah, and he would have heard the things at this point that Jesus had been preaching. And he still just said, no, I'm just not going to believe anyway. I'm just not going to believe. He chose not to. So I want to hit this again. When they say all you have is a Bible, all you have those 4 Gospels, that's not true. There are over 150 documents from the 1st and 2nd century that reference Jesus. Now, remember I say 1st and 2nd century, that means still we're talking about within 100 years. And That never happens in antiquity. Usually things are around 700, 800,000 years before they're written down. These were all written, and I'm talking about from 5 to 6, 7, 10 years maybe after the crucifixion, up to 100 years, 150 documents. Okay. There are those that say, that, well, it's just too late. Well, it's really not in comparison to the rest of antiquity. If you're going to do that, once again, I say this all the time, you got to toss out all of human history, because nobody has anything documented as close to this in antiquity. Sure, we may say, yeah, I do. We've got this letter written the day of Washington doing blah blah blah. I'm talking about ancient. We're talking about 2,000 years ago history. Different story. You can't compare how Abraham Lincoln is recorded in history to how Jesus or Alexander the Great or Caesar or any other ancient person. You just can't. It just doesn't work that way. Paper and pen and ink and everything was not as readily available, and of course no printing presses. So it's you can't compare. However, this is what we have. When we have this 150 documents, I want to go over again, because of Good Friday, I want to go over again the ones that are applicable here mostly, not just the ones that reference Christianity or reference the punishment of Christians, but reference the exact events that are happening this day here. 170 AD, that would be 150 years. No, that'd be 140 years after the crucifixion. Lucian writes about the Christians worshiping their crucified sage or their crucified wise man. So that was a thing. Clearly he believed that this man had been crucified. Josephus, people say, oh, that's the only one you have. That's not true. I've shown you before. 150 documents. Josephus, who some of his writings have been questioned as to whether or not they've been edited, and you can see I'm doing it again. There's that one right there, right? There's always one. There's always one. Always something. I'm going to do it like this so you can't see it. Because it's bugging me. See, I can see I need to start doing where I can't see myself. Maybe, and then it'll be like this, like here, and I won't know it till I edit the film later. I don't really edit it. I just sort of pull it off the phone and send it. There. I'm so glad you guys put up with that silliness of mine. I could just stop the thing and start over, but I don't. Anyway, people say Josephus has been edited, and yes, it does seem that there was some stuff added, but scholars say, you take out the spurious stuff, take out the woo stuff about Jesus, and you really do still have that Pilate, named Pilate, he's named in it, ordered the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. 116 AD, Tacitus writes that as well. He also wrote that it was during the reign of Tiberius Caesar, which we reference in the Bible. And then 73 AD, and this is getting down a lot closer, Marabar Serapion references that they had crucified the Jews' wise king, since there was no other Jewish king that was crucified or killed. I didn't say crucified; he said killed. Sorry, I did misspeak there. They killed their wise king, since Jesus had been referenced by many people as the king of the Jews at this point. It seems clear in history that he's referring to Jesus. Then this is the fun one. This is the where we're talking about science. Science is my thing. I love science. I've been teaching science for over 20 years here. Is 86 to 140 Phlegon wrote, and the reason I say 86 to 140 is when he lived. So the assumption is he didn't write till he was an adult. So we're talking about probably around the early 100s, early second century. Remember, anything with single or double digits is first century. Anything 100 and up to 200, up to 199 would be second century. So if I say it's all written within second century, that's 150 years or so, plus or minus. If I say first century, you're talking about less than 70 years after the crucifixion. You don't see that in antiquity. But in this situation here, we're talking about that. He makes reference to a solar eclipse during the crucifixion, which is mentioned in Luke chapter 23, verse 44 and 45. And then Thallus, this is a close one. He was writing around 50 A.D. Now, he's referenced by Julius Africanus when he talks about his writings, because we do not have the actual writings of Thallus. But as I've told you before, when you're looking at history, many times history is written based on something somebody else wrote. If I write a history today of Abraham Lincoln, I can't talk about what I saw Abraham Lincoln do. I can only talk about what other people wrote about him. Julius Africanus is writing about Thallus's writing about a solar eclipse and earthquakes, specifically during the crucifixion. And that's referenced in Matthew 27, verse 51. Earth shook. The veil was rent at the temple. That's 50 A.D., very close to the time. Enough to where somebody could say, what earthquake? We didn't have an earthquake. What are you talking about, an earthquake? There's no earthquake. People remember earthquakes, so especially back then. They were not as common, and, we hear about them all over the world because of the internet, because of, television and things. But since they don't have all those things, or didn't have all those things, an event with an earthquake is very memorable, because we hear about it on the other side of the planet. We go, wow, an earthquake. And when it happens to us, we go, wow, we hear about this all the time, and now finally what happened to us. But they never heard about them as often as we do, because of the communication was not like it is today. So you could say these people remembered this and could have said, Thallus, what are you talking about? It wasn't an earthquake. But then on that third day, when Jesus rose from the dead, there's another, in Matthew 28, there's another earthquake reference. The earth shook, angel rolled the stone away. But then we have Suetonius and Tacitus, both historians, Roman, not biblical, referencing the mischievous superstition that arose. And pretty much every scholar, when looking at this, says, well, there sounds like they're talking about the belief that Jesus rose again. So crucifixion is definitely referenced. The events that happened during the crucifixion are referenced. And then there's the reference of the belief that he rose again. There's also a Jewish reference to an empty tomb, because they accused the disciples of stealing the body. That's not just in the Bible. That happened outside of the Bible, written down. And so, once I've said this many times, you don't accuse somebody of stealing a body from a tomb unless the tomb is empty. And it's just not sensible to think that they actually did steal his body, pretended he lived again, so that they could be killed and murdered and burned and crucified and all those things. That's just a silly notion. Yeah, silly's my new word. I'm getting rid of that ludicrous word. Hopefully, anyway. So those are things I wanted to say those again. I know I've said them before. I want to say them again, because so many people will just hang on. Nope, we just have the Bible. Nope, we just have the Bible, and we don't. And I wanted you to know those things, hear those things. Lucian, Josephus, Tacitus, Marbar Serapion all reference the crucifixion. Phlegon, Thallus reference the solar eclipse and the earthquakes. Suetonius, Tacitus reference the belief of a resurrection. All of those people are outside the Bible. All of those people are, antagonistic to Christianity. They were not Christians. These people were not believers, and they wrote this way. So you can't say it's Christians just trying to broaden the story. These people were not Christians, and they were just writing down historical things that occurred. So keep that in mind. This Good Friday day here, when you say to yourself, God, you did that for me. And when I say you shouldn't have. I'm so glad you did. You shouldn't have. But when you think about the fact that he did, you think about the fact that he loves us that much, you can know that you're not just, as I do all the time, covering your eyes and going, I'm going to believe anyway, because I want that salvation, so I'm just going to have to ignore everything else and say this. This is not a copy of other religions, like we said. This is not a copy of any spiritual things, the references to different activities or beliefs. Anything outside of this is a perversion of this belief, or a twist to make this sound like it's that. It's really not. If you've got to twist it to make it sound like it's that, it's not. If you talk enough stories, I've said before, you tell enough stories, eventually something's going to happen that sounds like something. You do enough things, eventually somebody's going to do something like your thing. But this is referenced historically. We're not worshiping something that is just a copy of mythology and written as mythology as well. These are historical things that happened, historical events that happened, historical people that happened, historical locations that happened, historical things that you can believe and trust and stay in. So when you believe this, and when you think today, Good Friday, thank you, Jesus, for what you did for me, you can do so even as a wicked man.